Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit was happy here, back again with My Hero Academia Season 5. We are on episode 21, and in the last episode, it switched from My Hero Academia to My Villain Academia. And I assume that this episode coming up is still My Villain Academia, because at the end of last episode, kind of left off with a kind of like a cliffhanger in the story that we're trying to tell with the League of Villains. So I assume we are just continuing that on. It's going to be interesting to see if this is something that carries on throughout the rest of the season, or at least like the bulk, like up until like episode 24, something like that, and then 25 is kind of like the send-off for the season where we go back to the students and everything. I don't know, because we are getting to, you know, these last sort of 4 episodes, so I don't know how much more of My Villain Academia we are going to actually get, but it is cool to kind of get their side of the story, specifically because we are going into backstory with Shigaraki, which, you know, we have never got before. Like, we've only got like a slight little flashback previously back in season 3 that didn't explain pretty much anything. So what we got last episode was really cool. And yeah, I mean, I can't wait for more. We ended off with Shigaraki and the League of Villains. They were obviously, you know, taking on Gigantomachia, and they are actually going to end up using him to fight against the Liberation Army. So that was another interesting thing that came up in the last episode, where a guy called Ray Destro, so, you know, the guy who's heading up the Liberation Army, again, sort of reigniting it, was phoning up, who was it? It was twice, wasn't it? Basically, the Liberation Army got a hold of Giran, that black market guy that we have seen before, took off his fingers in hopes of, like, you know, trying to track down the League of Villains. And even though Giran, like, never gave up any of them, he still just lost all of his fingers and everything like that, so that sucks. But it's a thing now where they are against each other, which is cool to witness, because we know that the League of Villains have been actually, you know, working alongside them in current time, but obviously we're in a flashback. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do meet up, whether it's just a case of, like, the League of Villains show their strength, so the Liberation Army are like, okay, then, well, you know, you kind of join in with us. And then if it's anything like the League of Villains before, they will try and take them down from the inside, kind of similar to what they did with Overhaul and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't know. There was one thing I did actually write down after editing the last episode, which I thought was an interesting take. So the thing is with this, like, you know, with Dr. Ujiko, who we're getting some time with as well, which is cool to know, because he's been in the background like a very long time. I mean, you know, we're talking back to episode 1 of the show. I'm sure it's exactly the same guy. It got me, like, sort of thinking about the idea behind, like, the quirks. Because if you do go back to, like, episode 1, like, what the first thing that's ever said is, like, there was a baby that was born that, like, that kind of shone or, like, lit up, and it was special, and then all of a sudden there were quirks. And the interesting thing was, like, it's weird how it has not explained any of it before. And whether or not the mangaka only put that, like, you know, at the very beginning of the story because he didn't know exactly what he wanted to do with it. I mean, for all I know, he still doesn't know why quirks are around. And that is something that I feel like we've got to get some kind of answer to that. And I wonder if this Ujiko guy is at the head of it, because he is, like, so, like, he's almost like partners with All For One. I'm pretty sure, like, the term that he gave All For One was, like, partner. Now, we all know All For One is kind of like the big bad. Why would he have a partner in that kind of sense of the word? Like, I know that, I guess, Dr. Ujiko's been doing a hell of a lot with him, and obviously healed his whole head when it got smashed up by All Might and whatever, but it makes me just think, like, an interesting theory out there would be, what if Dr. Ujiko was the one that actually, like, created these through his mad scientist, like, science experiments and stuff like that, you know? I don't know. I mean, because if you think about it, it was a baby was born and there was a light from it, and that was what it was. But I mean, if the baby being born in a hospital, there's that kind of connection there. It just kind of, you know, I don't know. I think there could be possible connections there. Because this is the other thing as well, is like with All For One, I know we're having a lot of pre-reaction talk. I should probably just leave this for after this episode, shouldn't I? But I might forget to talk about it. So anyway, regardless, I just feel like because All For One has been given, like, he's the one that like has access to like all these powers and everything, he can take them and everything, that he like originally, was it just the quirk that he had was that? Also, if the baby who radiated light, was that All For One in the very beginning? I don't know. These are just interesting theories I just want to put out there to just see if anyone else has thought about this. I'm sure they have, because I don't think it's a really out there theory. But I don't know. There's questions to be answered, and you know, I'm trying to theorize with them. But anyway, yeah, I'm not going to spend any more time talking, and let's just get into the reaction. Okay, so we are going to get episode 21. As always, the reaction will be here on YouTube, but if for whatever reason it gets taken down for copyright in the future, I'll re-upload this as a discussion only, and the link to the reaction will be in the description below. As always, the link to the full length will be in the description below, so if you do want to watch my full reaction to this episode, and not just the cut 10-minute version, then the offer is there for you. But yes, nothing else to talk about, so we're going to get in episode 21, see what we get. So without further ado, let's go.
Superpowers first appeared, it was chaos. Eventually, an ideology started circulating among metahumans. Not quirk suppression, but liberation. Destro, the man who would destroy the present. He brought together like-minded people and formed the Metahuman Liberation Army.
Detonarat, we've seen that before.
Destro ended up writing a book in prison before committing suicide. Destro had no idea that he had a child, an heir.
Take down the League of Villains in Destro's name.
Like a legitimate child on in title only.
Once Makia wakes up in an hour and 40 minutes, he'll chase Shigaraki to this stage. Hopefully we last until the curtain call.
A friend approaches! I've been commanded to
Oh
get your guide
God,
today,
this guy.
so if you want to speak to our esteemed leader, you can follow my lead.
90% of Deka City's population is hidden liberation warriors.
That's crazy. The whole place.
So far to meet us face to face.
Isn't that Hanabata from the Hearts and Mind Party?
Welcome in, new friends.
Party.
To our revival party!
Oh God.
They weren't lying about their numbers.
A mini-boss, huh?
Tomura Shigaraki!
Oh,
Oh, those deaths due to blood loss. You're the culprit, right, Himiko Toga? How a high school girl was driven to madness. I must interview you.
she's an interviewee.
Nope.
Nope.
If they let a bioengineered Nomu loose, your people here don't stand a chance against it.
Ever since Kamino, we haven't seen any widespread use of the creatures. There's that high-performance Nomu that appeared in Kyushu. Gray Nomu that the Black One discharged. That's what I'm interested in. They didn't seem to possess extraordinary power. Hobby said he was collecting the Black One, which means they don't have a surplus of other Nomu that could be employed. Nomu are support goons from their patron All For One, and it's clear they don't have enough.
You came later and have no great cause, and yet you're famous. You fascinating girl. I'll have you bare your soul to me now. The public's interest in the League is one thing, but you're a different headline.
Bloody hell. Oh.
Oh, be careful where you're landing.
Oh my God, they've already set up traps and everything.
Chitose Kizuki, MLA codename, Curious, meta ability, Landmine. She can turn anything she touches into a bomb.
Being able to mimic them is a skill, but you also possess instincts and talent that the average murderer doesn't have.
Oh, fuck's sake, what's this now?
Exploded! There are warriors within our ranks who are more than willing to become bombs for the cause.
Oh my God, they've got
got
suicide bombers.
She was a cheerful and obedient child always. So how'd you end up here? You feel so much pain, but instead of observing it, I want to hear it from you directly.
Conduct interviews. Look at the faces of your subjects. In order to guide public opinion, you must appeal to emotion first and foremost.
All you have to do is tell me how you went insane!
I threw away normal life? What is that?
This is what a normal life is.
She's like a doll.
But I believe my life right now is normal.
God.
I saw her. Toga. She stuck a straw into Saito's wound. It was like she was in a trance.
So good.
Bloody hell.
We did our best, but we obviously failed.
Parents.
That child is a demon.
You think you're normal? An interesting thought. You are the embodiment of a repressed superhuman society. An unfortunate soul who sacrificed herself through the suppression of your meta powers. Because of the meta ability you have, you grew up obscenely fascinated by blood. But do you know who is to blame? This world. What you felt was completely natural.
Take another outsider.
It's not
Ugh.
your fault. The
God.
world wasn't ready to accept you.
Stop it! What are you doing?
Quit smiling like that! It's so creepy.
Why can't you be normal?
You shut your mouth!
Detnerat's patented chainring.
The hell was that?
Curious Flattener.
In the hell. Must have been from Detnerat, I bet you.
Your life will be written about in our modern-day holy
That's cool.
book as a shining example of that truth.
No!
Where will you run to?
Doesn't she get that I love my life? You may kiss someone you like, but my way is different. I suck the blood of those I love.
Oh God. The Chaco.
I know that meta ability only allows you to change your appearance.
The last bit of blood I had from back then was Ochako's. Lucky. Must be nice. I want to get close to someone I love too. I want to be like you too.
What the fuck?
I became so sensitive to what was happening around me. When I pretended to be a high school girl, the world became kinder. Am I using Ochako's quirk?
I'm actually fucking. I'm so in shock.
Said she could only
What?
change her physical appearance. Don't tell me.
That's nuts. Oh my God. I can't.
Evolved her meta power.
That's nuts.
I want to become more like those I love.
Even like switching between the voice actors as well. Oh my God. That was nuts. Oh Christ.
Chopping them down if there are too many.
Fuck.
You haven't killed a single one of them.
The things we hate, you destroyed. Right, Tomura?
Because he hasn't been Peter friggin'. How much sleep has he actually had over the past month and a half?
I know that my body's glitchy right now.
Glitchy.
Another flashback.
Oh God.
I don't recall.
It's Nana Shimura. Also,
It off my
if that was him, did he have black hair?
Why was that?
I guess.
Oh, great. Now I feel sick.
Oh God. Friggin' hell. He killed like.
Looked like his decay spread even though he didn't touch all of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say it. It looked like he just killed 30 people, but they're all just leveling up right now.
Nice, huh?
Interesting.
What a thrill.
Why won't you use your fire right away? Are you waiting for me to strike, or is there something wrong with your meta ability?
It's a complicated
I mean, it's not
but I guess I'll teach you.
not great to go up against. Yeah, you go up against fire with ice.
Speaking of having a lot to learn, pay attention. I control ice. I've been training my power for as long as I can remember. The Grand Commander helped me push my limits.
Fucking hell, he just created a dragon. But he doesn't create it. He only. How is that though?
Damn it!
Is it just too dense?
Stage. Tabi is over there. Shigaraki and Spinner were together. Toga ran ahead and is missing. Pressed twice.
Damn it! What happened? Toga! This can't be real. It is. Is she breathing? Yes. No. Her face is a mess. Is it the enemy's blood? No, it's hers. Don't worry, I'll look it up.
God!
Remember this?
I don't.
It's the handkerchief you gave me. No. You have to live. You're where I belong. You make the League a place we want to be. Damn it! I'll kill them!
The girl is still alive. but we need to make sure she's dead for Curious's feature, meta ability, double. In a sense, he's the complete opposite of Toga. He made copies of himself, was almost killed by them. To live your intended life, you liberated your meta powers.
Yeah.
But that resulted in a wounded soul.
God, man.
MLA codename Skeptic. Meta ability Anthropomorph. He can change things with about the same mass as humans, like fridges or desks, into sentient puppets.
Oh, so he made the
We will not repeat the tragedy of Destro. So now are you starting to get it? Such great power. It's time that you begin to understand your own worth. I will persuade you to join the Liberation Army.
Oh man, we only really saw Toga and Shigaraki like level up, but we haven't seen the others yet. I feel like they will. Okay, episode 21 and My Villain Academia continues, and we didn't even get up to the Gigantomachia stage. So I assume like when it all seems like it's going bad for the League of Villains, he will eventually show up and cause, you know, chaos, allowing the League of Villains to, you know, to get away and then regroup and do whatever they have to do at that point. But I mean, even then, like, we saw the likes of Toga and Shigaraki both level up at that exact moment, you know. But this makes sense, I think, especially at this moment in time, because even though when, you know, you had Toga who was, you know, basically fighting this Kizuki, or goes by Curious, Curious had said because of the fear of death, which brought it out. I think that is a sort of like a key factor, as in like kind of like, well, that's what unlocked it, you know. And the same goes for Shigaraki. I feel like the fact of, because he hasn't been he hasn't had a lot of sleep, it's all just kind of like fucking with his head, and he's actually having access to flashbacks and moments and memories of his life that he couldn't remember, because of because of that lack of sleep, and now the situation that he's in. It's kind of like to him, it's a crazy situation, I guess, because he's found himself in the middle of a fucking massive battle against, I mean, they're outnumbered to a ridiculous degree. But, I mean, he hasn't slept a lot over the past month and a half because he's been fighting Gigantomachia. So it's not even just a case he hasn't been sleeping. He's also, like, constantly, like, been moving. Like, his body would be fatigued, you know, to a degree. I mean, clearly not all, because he's still managing to, you know, do well. But I mean, I think that's the thing, is like, because they have literally spent all that time fighting Gigantomachia as well, it's like that's also had a hand in it. But that's crazy to me that like Deka City as a whole was not like, it wasn't a city populated by people who are just everyday people. It's the people who are under the Liberation Army that are there. Well, 90%. So I wonder what the other 10% think of what the fuck's going on then, because I don't know. Like that's interesting to me. Like, surely they would think something was going on if they were living there, you know? And how would they stop that from getting out to the wider public elsewhere in Japan or the world? I have to assume that the Liberation must have taken into their own hands like ways to keep them quiet, or I don't know. Or maybe like a lot of their exploits kind of go under the radar. So, you know. But I mean, this is a place, Deka City, like, where all of these people who are under that umbrella of the Liberation Army can just feel free to live the life that they want to eventually, like, the whole world to fall under, which is this idea that, you know, meta-humans, or, you know, the people with quirks, are able to use them to their fullest without any, you know, you know, backlash or, you know what I mean, or getting basically, you know, thrown in jail for, like, you know, using their powers that they were born with and everything. And So it would be interesting just to see like just a little scene to maybe show us exactly what the other 10% were doing. I don't think we're going to get that because, like I said, like as soon as Gigantomachia turns up, this is the other thing as well. I want to know what causes Shigaraki from the moment that, because he still has his light blue hair, to where it goes white. We know that he's been... Oh, I don't know. You know, I'm beginning to doubt whether or not Gigantomachia is the one to actually destroy the city now. I mean, he still might, like, he might still have a hand in it, but the thing is that I think what causes him to get the white hair is when he goes under that, like, the experiment thing with Dr. Ujiko. So he's being given like quirks and everything like that, and then he has the power to literally go back, and he literally goes and destroys the city. Possibly, I think that possibly might be the case. Maybe, but then it's interesting after that because then you've got in the current time period, we know that the League of Villains are working alongside the Liberation Army. But Shigaraki isn't there. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. It could be a thing where they literally just kill off the actual, like, those at the top of the Liberation Army. And because the League of Villains have actually leveled up, they've actually, like, the likes of Twice. If he levels up, like, he could, you know, he could just basically make like doubles of, you know, those people, and then basically he's just in the background puppeteering them all. I don't know, you know, things could happen like that, but then that's a very quick turnaround of like those people at the top of the Liberation Army, which I kind of want more time with. So I hope that isn't the case, but I don't know how the show's going to go. So yeah, it's a lot of ways they can go. The fact that we saw Shigaraki with the white hair in amongst all of the destruction around him, that makes me think that he'd have to have tamed Gigantomachia and then gotten those, you know, quirks from Ujiko's experiment thing, and that's where he gets the white hair from, and he comes back and destroys it. It could be a thing where, like, all of they could, like, the League of Villains could be prisoner, actually, in the current time. Like, before Shigaraki turns up and, like, you know, like, comes back, like, for them all, you know? That would be really cool if that is the case. Because in the current timeline, we know that, like, Hawks goes in and you've got the League of Villains all sitting there alongside them, right? But that could be just under, like, as prisoner, or, you know, like, being made to look like they're working together when they're really not, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. There could be so many different ways it could go. So yeah, I mean, well, oh God, right? We'll go into a bit of Toga. So the way that I heard it. So correct me if I'm wrong. This is the reason as to why, like, she is the way that she is. So I think there was some truth in what Curious had said about, you know, Toga basically grew up with her desire, I guess, to. There's something with the fact of her quirk just gives her this innate desire for blood, because she wants to be who she loves, right? And she can do that by taking their blood. She can literally become anyone she wants to be on the surface. And going through this like weird sort of juxtaposition, like, dynamic when we're listening to like the really fucking like heroic music big up a villain, you know what I mean? Like, to to the point of where like she actually levels up, and now she's able to use the quirks of the people she sucks the blood of. That's insane, by the way. That is nuts, you know. It's nuts. And like, to what end could that like, to what end does that go, you know? Because I mean, if we're talking about Monoma, for example, right, who has the copy quirk, he has blanks, right, based upon, like, you know, people who are stockpilers. He can't, you know, it's pointless even using those quirks because he uses the sort of like the originated, sort of concentrated form of the quirk, but he doesn't, he can't like refill it with the like the energy or whatever it is necessary to actually set it off. But I don't think, I'm trying to think if there's any limit to that regarding her quirk, because if she ever got one for all, right, then again we're looking at that situation similar with before we even knew about Monoma's blanks. Like, if he was ever to copy Deku's quirk, we were just like, he's fucking, his body's gonna get ripped apart. So we're back to that stage again, but now we're with it with Toga. I mean, she is in a bit of bother right now, so, you know, I feel like she's not gonna die. I mean, first of all, well, we have seen her in the current time, like I keep talking about, around the circular table, but then that could be, I mean, we know now that could be like that could be Twice mimicking her, and it also could be that Chikazoku guy who can create puppets. So, you know, we don't, I mean, that we just don't know. That's the thing, like, Chikazoku could literally just be, he could just made each one of the members of the League of Villains. But then that's the other thing, is there any limit to what he can do in his, like, you know, because if he did create all of them, then why wasn't Shigaraki also at the table? That's the other thing as well, right? So, you know, that's what is leading me to believe, like, this kind of theory that the League of Villains get captured aside from Shigaraki, and then Shigaraki comes back and destroys Deka City. So yeah, but I feel like the League of Villains are, as a unit, they are the sort of like the antithesis to the students. You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones, the group, the villain group that we follow alongside the students, so that eventually when we do come to the climax of the story and everything like that, it's them two clashing, right? So I don't think any of them are gonna die, but I don't know, man. It's crazy, like, looking at it from the villain side, because, like, normally it's like, you know, there's happy times and there's you know what I mean, but even when there's not with the students and the heroes and everything like that, like, it's rare that you see people, like, truly die. But then all of a sudden you go over to My Villain Academia, and then, like, everyone, like, people, like, especially, like, well, in this episode, it's like essentially a war. You know what I mean? Like, so many people are dead already, you know? So many people. But I think that it's an interesting way to keep the villains as villains, but keep them on side with the viewer, I feel like. Because at the end of the day, right, it's all character development, and we already know about, like, Twice, and I don't know about anybody else, but I don't have, like, when I think about, like, you know, specifically Twice as a villain, I don't see him as, like, a bad guy, you know what I mean? Like, he's not that way, like, inclined. But, like, if we were to literally witness the League of Villains, like, go out and, like, murder civilians, you know what I mean, people who are completely innocent, like, then that's where, like, you're kind of you're crossing that line, that threshold of maybe the viewer not wanting to understand them anymore, you know what I mean? The fact is that because the League of Villains have been kept kind of away from, like, innocent civilians and everything like that, we have to, you know, we know that they are, like, you know, they've caused harm to people. I think that the one time we've actually seen, like, them, like, really, I mean, Shigaraki and whatnot and Kurogiri have caused havoc, like, by letting Nomus loose in the city, right? But, and I mean, we've seen Dabi kill out that sand guy. You know, so like them two, it's kind of different with those two. I feel like there's a bit more meat about them. Like they're kind of like at the forefront of the League of Villains. I feel like even Darby, I feel like there's a lot there that like he has separate things going on aside from the League of Villains. You know what I mean? Whereas the likes of Toga and Twice and Spinner and all that, like they feel more as a group. You know, whereas Darby feels a bit more secluded from it and does his own thing at times, it feels like. So so yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way of allowing the villains to go out and do what they love to do anyway, you know what I mean, which is go out and kill, but they're doing it to another group that the heroes aren't on board with either, you know, but it allows the villains to let loose. So, you know, but it is crazy just the sheer number of people who are actually just dying right there. So yeah, I think like anyway, all the way back to the original point about Toga, I feel like the actual thing does come from almost this repressed society. Of course, you know, Curious is going to say that because she's under that moniker of wanting metahumans to you know, be liberated and do what they want with the powers that they have. So of course she's going to say that to try and bring Toga on side. I don't think Toga sees that as the issue more so than she just feels like in herself that she is like, I don't know, like, because she says that, you know, this is a normal life, but she's more wanting to be the people that she loves as opposed to, you know, because I don't know, maybe in like her way of looking at it is the blood that she sucks of the people that she loves and everything like that allows her to understand exactly from the person's point of view that, you know, of the blood that she's sucking as well. One of the things that actually really kind of interested me about like the flashback itself, she sucked the blood of a bird, right? Now that was when she was really young, so I don't know if her quirk had truly manifested yet. But if she was to do that now, would she literally be able to become a bird? I don't know, because there seems to be some form of like equivalent mass has to be exchanged as opposed to like her like just literally transforming into a little bird. Like where does all of that extra mass go, you know? So I feel like it's probably not, but I just thought it was interesting because she obviously we did see her do that. But yeah, I mean it is insane the fact that Toga can literally just like she can now just use the powers that she gets from them. It just opens up a lot of different, like it not only opens like the door for her to be, she's become way more powerful now, regarding, you know, whatever the limits are of that power that she has unlocked. Like, you know, if she is able to use one for all, would her body be able to handle it? Probably not. You know, but it's cool being like, it's cool seeing them level up as well, I feel like, because I mean this is the thing, like because we're following the heroes 99% of the time, you're watching all the students get better and better and better, and like, you know what I mean, in terms of where Deku is from like now from where he started, it's like massive. It's a huge improvement. And we've never really seen the League of Villains improve. You know what I mean? So the only thing that we really saw as a big difference in the League of Villains was Shigaraki and the way that he sort of leads he's matured, you know. So, but like to actually witness them use their powers and make them stronger is cool. This is the thing, like it's interesting with, I guess, Shigaraki is that, so I did catch it, and I was like literally about to mention the idea that like, well, he needs to touch everything that he decays, but there was literally like about 30 people there, and that's insane. Because then it's like, so it seems as that as long as they're touching, he can decay through things, right? Now he has another thing, because he can decay anything he touches, right? Like anything he touches. So theoretically, what would be... This is probably how he destroys the city. But, you know... Then he could literally just touch the floor, right? Decay it. And it decays somebody from their feet up. You know what I mean? As long as they're touching the floor, of course. But, like... I mean, theoretically, he should be able to do that now. I would hope that is the case. I mean, it sounds bad, like saying, "Oh yeah, I hope that the villain of the show can do this now." But like, it's like, you know, because there could be a possibility of like after this fight's over and when they get, you know, when they regroup and everything and like trying to do it again, like can they just do it now, or is it a case of it only cropped up because of the situation that they were in? Like, for example, is it like an equivalent plus ultra? You know what I mean? Like, is it a case of like they can only do that when they really go for it? You know, because I guess that could be the thing as well. Like, it could have just been a plus ultra moment, you know. But when you think about it as like it coming from the heroes, it's a thing to, you know, to like essentially like a final move, right? To take them out once and for all. But it's generally like obviously involving a villain to take them out. But like if it coming from Shigaraki and Toga, if that is just a plus ultra moment that came through, it's like a completely different situation that forces them to use it, you know. So I don't know, but it's an interesting thing anyway. So yeah, I mean at the very beginning we got Deku narrating about, you know, the Liberation Army and what, like, you know, when it first came around. So yeah, Destro, he wrote the book and then committed suicide. I wrote down like commit suicide and put it in quotation marks because, you know, I don't know if we'll get more information regarding it in the future, but I wonder if it was truly he truly suicided or what, you know, because would there have been a reason to? What was it, a case of like back then Destro, you know, maybe he couldn't gather a liberation army in which he wanted to, or like maybe he found that he just can't get through, so rather than live in a world where they won't allow it, he would rather not live in it, right? Possibly. And then something was said like, you know, little did Destro know that, you know, he had a child or whatever, and then that child would take up his mantle and that would be Destro, you know. I mean, he came into frame, so I'm assuming that it's him. But then it's like, you see, because you could take that literally, or you could just take that metaphorically. Like, you could take it as, right, that is his child, or you could take it. I mean, he doesn't have his nose, but but like, or you could just take it as, well, you know, Destro had a child that was kind of like a follower, as a, you know what I mean, somebody who had the cojones to take up the mantle of you know, and you know, be at the top, the Grand Commander of the Liberation Army. So it could be either or. I don't know if it's truly the child or not. But yeah, there was also like the Detonarat thing came back into play as well. So yeah, I'm glad I did pick up that some weeks ago when it was literally just like a one-off like little sentence. That's a thing, like things like that are noted, especially like in news and everything. Like you need to grasp onto those and think about those, because those are the things that end up coming back around at some point, and they have. So Detonarat is shit. What did it say? It said it was now officially, because it's a support like item kind of thing, but it's now in use with the Commission or something like that. Fuck. Let's see if I can find it, because I mean, the interesting thing is that, yeah, Detonarat enters hero support industry. That's bad. That is not good. Because that means that the Liberation Army have essentially... They've kind of now got, like, wormed their way in to Hero Society as a whole. I mean, they always were just, like, there, I guess, like, and around and everywhere. But I guess, like, getting people directly in to, you know... I mean, I guess really they always were, because they did say that there are heroes in there. So I guess they always were sort of... They're always infiltrated. But the thing is that with Detnerat, now... With it being a support item company, like, you know, they can now, like, purposefully fuck with support items that the heroes who aren't on their side, like, they can fuck with, you know, and basically, I'm trying to think of the fucking word and I can't. They can basically just make their support items terrible, right? But give the ones, you know, like the heroes or you know, the Liberation Army lot, they can give those the ones that actually work, and fuck up for the heroes that aren't a part of the Liberation Army, you know? I don't know if it'll go that far, but I just find it interesting that Detnerat enters the Hero Society industry, but is already backing up the Liberation Army beforehand, so, you know, there's that. So then we got, what are we going to next? So some of the, I guess, the heads of the Liberation Army is interesting. So we got Hanabata, who was, head of the Hearts and Minds Party. That's all we got regarding him. So I don't know exactly what that means, but I'm sure we'll get more information on him. The other two that we really got were Kizuki, so obviously Curious, her meta ability. By the way, this is I find it interesting that even the narrator is... This is a thing that they want to be, like... The Liberation Army themselves want to be completely separate from anything regarding Hero Society or anything like that. Like, that's clear in the way that they talk about what they're thinking. Because when you've got President Mike even narrating their card differently. I mean, for example, like, he would, you know, for, like, All Might, he says it as, right, hero name, you know, All Might, and then Quirk, right? But for the Liberation Army, it's, you know, their Meta Liberation or MLA code name, right, as opposed to hero name, and then meta ability as opposed to Quirk. I remember, like, this back, like, all the way when that book was talked about or anything, was brought up for the very first time, early season 4, somewhere around season 4 or wherever it was. I remember just like finding it interesting that they called it meta, but I always felt that it was something that was, you know, it was just like that was the first thing they called it before Hero Society ever, you know, and then it became Quirks because Quirks sound more friendly than meta, you know. So they obviously back then when Society was kind of like still wondering what the hell to do with all of this kind of stuff, that they probably wanted to keep away from it, calling it meta, because it sounds a bit, you know, like a bit separate from people, you know what I mean? Like you're secluding people from like society or being normal just because they have a quirk, which is interesting because that's something that is obviously still going on now in current time. The villains themselves, specifically Twice and Toga, as we know of so far, are kind of ones that have been... It seems as though both of them have this kind of idea of they've been sort of like just titled as kind of just like, you know, like outcasts, or like people just don't want anything to do with them because of their quirks, and people don't feel comfortable and everything around them and whatever. I'm sure that goes for more of the League of Villains as well, but we don't know about that yet. But yeah, so yeah, the one of them was Curious. Of course, we talked about her a bit. Her meta ability is landmine, so anything she touches, she can make explode. Now, I'm assuming that means like humans as well, because when those suicide bombers essentially is what is. I mean, some of them have literally just given themselves up for that cause. I mean, that's just crazy, man. there has to be some kind of like, oh god, I don't even know. They've got to be like, especially like in Dacre City, if any of them have kids, they must bring them up in this like fucking like weird way, like where they're poisoning these kids' minds to grow up thinking that this is the only way forward, you know. But you know, there were some guys in there that actually did explode the blood as well. So I assume that she was the one that did that by touching it. I don't know, but God, that's just crazy, man. And then the other one was Chikazoku, codenamed Skeptic, meta ability Anthropomorph, can change human mass-like objects into sentient puppets. Yeah, so anything that really has roughly the same mass as a human, he can change into actual sentient puppets. Which, so yeah, that's interesting. Sentient as well, like not, like, he's not. I mean, that's the thing. Like, calling it like sentient puppets is a bit. I don't know. It's like a. What's the term? Like an oxymoron. Like something that doesn't really make sense. If you know what I mean. Like it kind of. See if I'm right on that one. I think I am. Yeah, a figure of speech in which apparently contradictory terms appear in conjunction. So. Because the idea of something being like, you know, sentient is to, you know, that they almost have their own minds, right? So he's creating them and they're having their own thoughts and everything about them, which seems right considering the fact that when we saw, you know, twice as like all of his like, you know, body doubles, for what he actually looks like that we have seen before, they are acting that way inclined as well. But then to call someone a, you know, so. Sentient puppets, but a puppet would necessarily mean, you know, that he is controlling them as well. So I don't know, is it sentient or is it not? You know, I guess the puppet side of it probably comes from, you know, the idea that, you know, he is always sort of over them. He does have control over them, whether or not they exist or don't. I guess that is pretty much the only side of it. But yeah, I don't know. Like maybe it's just a case of like he can let them off the leash and anytime he wants and everything. So anyway, yeah, those are the two that we really got like sort of introduced to and their abilities and everything like that. Another interesting actually with Curious is that for her feature, Toga has to die. Why is that a thing? Is this just something that with her, every story she gets, she needs to kill them, or is it? I don't know. Like it's a bit weird, isn't it? This is the thing, like they want this freedom that doesn't, like, that's just not good for anyone, you know. But they're just thinking of it as like, well, each individual has their own, they can do what they want, and if they die, they die, you know. Like if they die, they weren't good enough, kind of thing. Like almost like a survival of the fittest world. I mean, that's the way they look at it, though, right? They think of it as like this is like evolution, you know. They've evolved to this point, and if you didn't get one, well, I guess you weren't good enough. That's kind of the thing that they're going with. But yeah, we also got a little sort of talk with Garen as well, who's he's still got high hopes, which, you know, fucking hell, like. That's crazy. The guy's got stamina. I'll put it that way. But yeah, he was talking about he's talking with Reed Destro about you know, like why he's basically underestimating the League of Villains and that, you know, no moves will be dispatched or whatever. Reed Destro has a lot of knowledge, and I think he's smart in the way he's talking about, because he did say that, you know, they won't be dispatched because of, you know, previous times that they have been dispatched and whatever. Specifically the Nomu that Endeavor went up against, Darby wanted it back, so that means that they only have a finite number of them and they don't want to lose them, so they're not going to risk them here. But the ones that he is interested in is specifically the Grey Nomu that was discharged by the Black one. So yeah, the one that Endeavor was fighting. Which yeah, I'm interested in those as well, because that was kind of just like left to be like, oh well, I guess that's what that Nomu can do. So yeah, that is interesting, and I'm sure that will come up again when Destro has, I don't know, maybe he can have some talks with Ujiko, and we'll see. But yeah. Oh god, what else? There was a lot, wasn't there? I mean, yeah, Shigaraki had the bloody... I mean, talking about the flashback, we didn't even talk about the fact that Nana Shimura appeared up in that flashback before. So, that, yeah, I mean, that's cool that he's getting those now. But this is the thing, how much... Is this going to keep on continuing? Like, is he now just going to get these or not? Because... I think he will for as long as he's... As long as... he is fighting these lot in Deka City. And like once he's got, you know, like control of Gigantomachia or whatever, because then he can have some sleep and his mind won't be as fucked and his body won't be glitching as he talks about. But I think he probably will. We'll probably see it a few more at least to connect some dots possibly. But I don't know if it's going to really give Shigaraki like any... Like, I don't think he's going to take anything from them, possibly, but it might give us, the viewer, being able to connect some dots there. So, yeah, I mean, it makes me wonder that the way that Nana Shimura... And also, I think there was possibly a sibling there talking as well. About, like, you know, how... I don't know, I didn't write down exactly the quotes, but, like, they were talking to him, calling him, you know, Tenko as what his name was. That they're like kind of, you know, behind him, or the you know, like the trust that he can kind of, I don't know, like build up his power possibly, like his quirk. It just makes me think that back then he couldn't control his quirk, and that's the reason like why, like. You know, if he's accidentally killed his family, then that's bad, you know, and Shigaraki has almost like just forced himself to forget all that because it's like too traumatic. And that's the thought that I get anyway from those flashbacks, is that it's possible that like Nana Shimura as one would, you know, trust that he can actually come through this, you know, and get control of it. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't know. There was the beginning of a derby fight with a guy called... I don't know what it was. I want to say Goten, but I really don't think that's right. Because that's Dragon Ball, isn't it? God, I've left the player too long, and it's just gonna buffer now. But yeah, he went up against some guy, obviously in the hood, the guy who can control ice. So yeah, it seems as though he can't actually manifest it, but he can't control it. So he gets it from... I mean, that's great and all if he can control it, but if he can't, you know, actually like manifest it with his own body, then it's kind of got a limit, doesn't it? Like, once you're out of ice, you're kind of fucked. I guess he never really truly stated that he can't manifest it. He just said that he can control it, but that he's been doing it like pretty much like ever since he was a kid without the whole thing for studies and everything like that. So he's basically just worked on his quirk, and he created a massive fucking ice dragon out of it. It makes me think that like because I get like Dabi's flames didn't work when it went up against the ice dragon, I'm guessing is because he's compacted the ice so much that even like the hot flame can't get through it enough, you know, so it doesn't melt it like instantly. I guess I have to assume that's the way it is anyway. So yeah, there's that. What else? I think that's pretty much like everything covered. I think I did like the way that Mr. Compress seems to be the more like methodical one, you know. I guess it makes sense. Like him being a magician kind of works with his personality and everything like that. But he was like literally like in the, you know, in the heat of battle, he's actually thinking exactly about where everyone is situated in his group. You know, and he remembers all of it quite clearly. The only one he can't is Twice. Twice just went off on his own. But yeah, I liked his like his methodical kind of thinking, everything like that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where a next episode comes. I mean, I can't imagine next episode Gigantamakia doesn't show up. I feel like I was expecting him in this episode, but I think he's going to be in the next one as weird as it's looking. But yeah, I am enjoying this. I'm enjoying getting this side of the story, so that's really, really cool. But anyway, that's all I've got. So thank you for watching. In the description below, I have links to certain things. One of them is the Discord, so you can get yourself over there if you wish. And I also have a Patreon page as well. So if you do want to support me on Patreon, that'd be very much appreciated. There is a bunch of different tiers and rewards there, like early access gives you access to shows a week early. Shows like that are coming back now, okay? So even though early access hasn't been a thing for a while, it is actually coming back now. And the shows that I was doing previously will be coming back. So we're talking about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. We're talking about Ghost in the Shell, Blood Blockade Battlefront. Haikyuu will be coming back as well very soon, so you know, keep an eye out for those. There's also the full length tier, so if you want to watch any of the shows that I do, my full reaction to all of them, that's what the full length tier is there for. And there is the exclusive tier, which gives you access to the full length movie reactions, everything like that. And yeah, the movies that I am doing are like, I love those movies, they're great, the ones that I've done previously, and I'm going to be doing some more of them very soon, so keep an eye out for those. But yeah, that's all I've got, so thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.